Fast Freddie Slater is a name putting fear in junior drivers across the F1 ladder these days, and now he has a new target. Hello and welcome fellow motorsports fans. The F3 news surrounding British sensation Freddie Slater might have changed my predictions for his F1 future, and we did crown two new Karting World Champions last weekend who you'll surely see dominate in the feeder series in the not too distant future. So as always, I'm here to tell you all about them in advance. We'll flip the order of this week's episode upside down and start with the news segment. We've had a couple more F3 announcements, apart from the obvious, starting with Williams Jr. Alessandro Giusti staying with MP for another year. Considering both how close Tramnitz got to the title this season and how well Giusti has adapted to F3, I reckon this is a sound decision and should put Giusti in the position to really leave his mark on the championship next season. Brad Benavides staying with AAX for a full season assault in 2026 is only a little surprising. And honestly, I don't hate it. Sure, a guy is a bit old to be racing against teenagers in F3, but unlike a certain Colton Herta, Benavides is far from an established career anywhere else, so honing your craft in one of the world's most competitive feeders is not a bad idea from his point of view. Clearly, he can afford to do it as well. And for the series itself, he is definitely not the worst driver AAX has to offer, and in theory, having a couple of experienced benchmarks should be an asset to developmental series as well, although I'm not too sure Benavides actually fits into that category. The big one is of course Freddie Slater announced to compete in F3 with Trident next season, which for me, as much as he might dislike pressure, makes him the immediate title favourite. Fast Freddie Slater is a rare, perfect package of insane skills and unlimited budget, so him picking the team that has smashed the driver's title the last couple of years is no surprise. It does answer a question we've had earlier in the year though. Will he do the Antonelli path of jumping F3 to be closer to F1 by the time he turns 18? And honestly, seeing how things are working out for Kimi at the moment, I appreciate Slater taking his time, even if it means a certain past video of mine now has an inaccurate title. And, provided he converts the Fracker title this year, he'll be in the unique position to try and win at all 4 levels of the F1 ladder in his rookie season. Combined with his rookie titles in Ginetta Juniors and European KZ2, this might well be the most incredible junior record of all time, so we should all enjoy watching the magic unfold. We'll talk about the more immediate F2 changes at Trident when we'll see them on track, but there is one piece of F2 news worth highlighting as well. Nikola Zolov stepping up from F3 with Campos. No real surprises there, we certainly expected him to move up. Red Bull Junior said Campos is a thing, and he has enjoyed success there in F3. And of course, the team has been a consistent force at the front ever since the new regulations, so he'll have the equipment to impress as well. All in all, nothing to dislike about that move. We did have a few more Formula E announcements though, starting with Joel Eriksson back in the game to join Sebastian Buemi at Envision. I'll be honest, not too fond of that one myself. Not because Eriksson is bad, but because it is incredibly uninspiring. Between Drugovich, though he might find himself in another seat, Pucher and others like Paul Aaron, I really think they should have gone with a rookie. Buemi is a fantastic benchmark and will bring home results himself if the team allows. If stability in both seats is what they wanted, they should have tried harder to keep Franz in the first place. DS Penske has announced Maxi Günther and Taylor Barnard as the lineup for 2026, and this one I absolutely love. Watch me engage that fanboy mode for Penske next season. This should be an explosive combination with Günther's hit-or-miss speed and Barnard as the exciting youngster. I am ready to watch both win a bunch of races and to see both crash and burn on multiple occasions. I just hope we can avoid any inter-team drama. Barnard was of course the hottest free agent in the paddock, so absolutely a great signing for Penske. Replacing Verne over Günther is really just a matter of preference in my opinion. Peak ability versus consistency, and the former certainly makes for better television. And Verne is not gone, of course. He has remained with Stellantis in the newly rebranded Citroen team, where he'll be partnered with the other high-profile free agent, Nick Cassidy. Can I just say, what an off-season this is for Stellantis to get both of these guys in 1 year. Cassidy will show us the potential of the team, and Verne will be there to collect easy points if any are on offer. Looking forward to seeing that duo as well. I'd love to hear all of your thoughts about these announcements, Freddie Slater and the Formula E portion in particular, but in the meantime, we'll move on to the biggest junior karting race in the world in our quick weekly karting report. The Karting World Championship, especially in the single speed categories, is all the way up there with my favourite events of the year, so I really hope you use this less packed weekend to check it out. But of course, I'll get you up to speed even if you didn't. In the OK Juniors, we've had the perfect storm at the front when it comes to storylines. Ferrari Junior Noah Baglin winning the race in almost surprisingly one-sided fashion is not just a great result in isolation, it is also the perfect revenge for last season, where his attempt at going for the title ended with a wreck in the last corner, while leaving the title to teammate Kenzo Craigie instead. And to make it even more satisfying, he had to beat his teammate again. Williams Jr. Dean Hugendorn was also a frontrunner all weekend, reuniting the Prema pair at the front where they have really been competing all year long together. Sure, Hugendorn did have a rough start and couldn't quite take the fight to Baglin, but that just goes to show that step Baglin had on the rest of the field last weekend. Massive congratulations. And I'll have to say, I did also appreciate Hugendorn's visible frustration with a result most drivers would be ecstatic about. Goes to show just how ambitious he already is at his young age. Title fight aside, we've had a bunch of people that deserve a mention though. First of all, Valerio Villapiana finally converting the potential he has shown across the European season in a mighty P2 ahead of reigning European champion Hugendorn. That one must have felt rather good. Not as surprising as the next mention though, Leo Gorski with a shocking appearance at the front for MP Motorsports, the first that new karting operation has seen all year long. Not only did Gorski take P4, he was also firmly a part of the Villapiana and Hugendorn battle, easily his best drive of the year. Oskari Wally, who we've talked about last week, has indeed proven that he is just really good at this track. Sure, maybe not as front running as last week due to some DNFs, but still rapid pace and fantastic forward progress in both Super Heat and Final. I am so curious to see if we'll ever see that level of performance again from the guy. And last but not least, Evan Purcell may have fallen off hard in the final, but absolutely deserves a mention for an otherwise fantastic weekend at the front. And he has been a rather consistent top 10 kind of guy most of the year now, and I think I've not mentioned him at all yet. He is absolutely becoming one of the most important figures on these grids. And for the OK Seniors, I don't want to sound too smug, but I told you so last week. Thibaut Ramaekers had a huge result coming for a long time, and this was finally his opportunity. Winning the final in a race-long duel against Kart Republic factory ace Joe Turney is one hell of a performance and at the most clutch time imaginable. I don't know this kid's budget situation. I think he recently turned 16, so I was slowly getting worried. But if we ever see him in a single-seater, just be prepared to hear the phrase, "I told you so." Speaking of Joe Turney, this is definitely another storyline to keep an eye on. Redemption from an otherwise mediocre season, but the big world title is the one that he just can't seem to crack. Hoping he'll be back for another go next year. Lev Kotrolov has only appeared on my radar at some point last season, and he has gone from, oh, there's another decent Ukrainian, to one of my favourite drivers to watch. Not least because I'm getting Stolzen Manis flashbacks with fantastic Eastern Europeans in an energy course. Putting it on a podium in the World Championship during your rookie campaign is quite a result, and I couldn't be any happier for him. Plus, I love the confidence he's got as well. This guy is absolutely going places. James Anagnostiadis did give a good accounting of himself this time in his duel against fellow Mercedes junior Kenzo Craigie, and did actually win the duel for P4. Not gonna lie, I sometimes forget how good Anagnostiadis can be. He may be the most hit or miss of the high-profile junior drivers, but this was a good reminder that when he's on, he's really on. Unfortunately, it was a bad weekend for season dominator Christian Costoya, so let me instead shout out two underrated Brits, Noah Wolff and Aston Sharp. not just for their effort this weekend, but really for what they have been doing all year long. Both may have struggled to string clean weekends together consistently, but have time and time again shown both their rapid pace and ability to charge through a dense pack like nobody's business. Two characters whose CV does not at all match the raw ability they clearly possess. Getting strong Kai Rillard's vibes from last season, if you remember him. If you watched the event, who was your favourite driver, or what was your favourite moment? And if you didn't, what was your excuse? Let us know down in the comments while we move on to a little bit of single-seater action. In the single-seater department, we may have not had much, but some very important stuff nonetheless, with the second round of E4. Prema really did strike back massively this time, while us Racing was struggling a little bit for the usual standards, and thus we now have Kean Nakamura-Berta leading this championship as well. But while Gabriel Gomez couldn't fight at the front, we've had another classic edition of one of my favourite feeder rivalries at the moment, Kean Nakamura-Berta versus Alex Powell, trading wins in the first two races, and would have done so a third time if not for an incredible restart from Sebastian Weldon. I could really watch KNB and Powell go at it all day, every day, and I sincerely hope they're going to be in the same series again next year. I've already mentioned him in the karting segment. Thomas Stoltzemanis is finally back in the single-seater. He apparently has no more budget for a Prema seat, but instead returned with AKM. Understandably, this must have meant not a lot of pace, but he absolutely annihilated his teammates and even scored some good points on Sunday. Clearly a case of driver being considerably better than the team, and a pretty good example of how far you can drag mediocre equipment with an A-tier driver. Then I've really got to ask the Andrea Dupe question this weekend. Someone who I've coincidentally seen lots on iRacing this weekend, including the night after these races. He has finally shown some glimpses of potential in race 3 this weekend, but still managed to throw it away instead of getting a decent point scoring result. Not like I'm expecting anything from him, his karting career has been decidedly average at best, but paying for a Prema seat will always guarantee some eyeballs, so I did have to bring it up at some point. Last but not least, Andy Consani has switched series, abandoning his French F4 campaign following a great debut and mediocre rest of the year. So far, he is not doing much better here either, but I guess we'll have to give it some more time. He isn't exactly a world beater either, but unlike Dupe, he has at least shown more than his fair share of potential already over the course of his young career. Talking about French F4, not a single race of this week's triple header has been broadcast, so I am not too interested in talking about it either, to be honest. With only a single round to go, I figured I'd still quickly update you on the title battle, because we do indeed have one on our hands. Alexandre Munoz may have dominated the first half of the season, but has cooled off ever so slightly, maybe a less favourable engine if I was to speculate. So, other people have found a chance to win races now. Thus, Jules Roussel is close enough in the points to put up a fight at Le Mans, even if it should still be enough for Munoz to seal the deal. And I wanted to at least shout out the most recent addition to the winners list, Julien Boujard and Rintaro Sato, both with a win and a P3 apiece this time out. Solid development from Sato, though he was of course expected to eventually fight at the front, and this season was probably still a bit disappointing for the former Japanese F4 competitor. Meanwhile for Boujard, it is a proper stamp of authority on a tense battle for Rookie of the Year. No, that is unfortunately not an official title in this series. Either way, reverse grid or not, in a field with this many exciting rookies, standing out the way Boujard is doing at the moment absolutely deserves our recognition. And surprisingly, that was already all the single-seater racing for the week. Next week's schedule will just about make up for the lack of action this time out though, with F1, F2, Fracker, a bunch of F4 stuff, and quite a bit of karting I may or may not cover as well. And of course, there's still an F3 review coming soon, hopefully. But until then, it is your time to drop all of your thoughts and predictions down in the comments so we can get our lovely little discussion going. And otherwise, I thank you all for watching, and I do hope to catch you in the next one.